Sigh. I just can't stop sighing. I was on the verge of quitting my job when I was hit with an unbelievable situation. In my hands, I had a photograph from a matchmaking service. In it was a fair-skinned, beautiful woman. The other day, I was suddenly called into the CEO's office, trembling. I wondered what it was about as I went to listen. The CEO of a company we do business with wants to consult you. You know Mr. Johnson from the printing company. He has proposed a match for you with his daughter. Excuse me, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Of course. I didn't know Mr. Johnson all that well. I had been invited by our CEO to play golf with him a few times, and we had only chatted a little. Why me? What for? I was filled with nothing but these thoughts. Mr. Johnson's company is a fairly large corporation. A match with the daughter of such a distinguished company CEO seemed impossible. With all due respect, I've had to check with him several times. They definitely want to arrange a match between you and his daughter. No way. While in disbelief, I took the envelope that contained the daughter's photograph. That night, I called my mom back home to talk about it. Well, isn't that a fine offer? Why don't you meet the lady at least? Yeah, but I'm thinking of turning down the matchmaking. I see. I'm sorry. It's because I've become like this. It can't be helped. It's not your fault, Mom. It's just age. I plan to quit my job soon and return home. The reason is that I need to take care of my mother, who has a chronic illness. Fortunately, I have knowledge related to programming. I think I can make enough for living expenses even if I work from home. We'll make do. But Mom seemed unconvinced. But I can't bear to leave my frail mother alone at home. That's why I decided to move in with her. The next day, after returning from the office, I was walking to the convenience store near my house to buy dinner. Then, on a dimly lit side street I passed by, a woman was being hassled by a young man with a delinquent look. Hey, you bump into me and don't even apologize. What's that about? What's wrong with you? Why should I pay you and apologize when I didn't even bump into you? Hey, that girl is. I recognized the woman's face. On impulse, I called out to her. Kayla, long time no see. Hey, remember me, the attorney, Charles? We worked together on that case, remember? Oh, Charles, it's been a while. The woman responded to my words, perhaps catching on to my intent. Damn, some nosy guy showed up. Perhaps it was the mention of an attorney, but the man quickly left the scene. Are you okay? Yes, she answered in a faint voice, looking exhausted. I am. Yes, I recognized your face. You're Charles, my matchmaking partner, right? Yes, that's right. An awkward silence filled the air. She was unmistakably my matchmaking partner, the daughter of the client's CEO, Kayla. Why were you wandering around in such a place so late at night? After that, I had invited her to my place. If we had just stood there talking, that guy might have come back and done something. That's what I thought. I got lost, she stuttered. You didn't come here to subtly check up on me, did you? Her face turned startled for a moment before she continued. Yes, actually, that's true. At her words, I let out a big sigh. She must have been told by the CEO, her father, to suddenly have a matchmaking date with me. I understand being curious about a match arranged by your parents, but there's no need to come scouting out at this time of night. No, actually, I had a fight with my father about the matchmaking. Yes, a delicate air flowed between the two of us. If you don't like it, I think we could both go and turn it down. What do you think? No, I don't dislike the idea of matchmaking, but it seems like you're not keen on it. She looked down dejectedly. I let out a big sigh and told her that I had intended to decline the matchmaking and that I was planning to quit my job and return home soon. What? Quit your job? It's not that there's a problem with my current job. It's just that there's nothing I can do about it. I can't leave my sick mom alone any longer. I understand. she replied sadly to my words. I wonder what she's curious about, having only met me today. Even if it was the CEO's sole decision, it's not nice to just unilaterally call off a matchmaking, right? When I conveyed that, she said something unexpected. No, that's not it. I was actually looking forward to this matchmaking. But my father told me that you might not be interested, and I just couldn't sit still. So you came to check up on me. She nodded shyly, looking embarrassed. I was at a loss for words. I can start a relationship with her considering my future plans. And yet, this might hurt her feelings. I'm sorry. My father was being pushy. I'll tell him to call off the matchmaking from my side. No, but... She looked up with a sad face, and I was at a loss for words. Actually, this matchmaking, I pretty much asked my father for it. What? Don't you remember? We've met a long time ago. As she spoke, she took out her cell phone from her bag, but then she looked at the time and said, "Oh, it's so late. I really must go home now. Can I call a taxi? It's rude of me to be here at your place at this hour, and I'm sorry for any trouble I've caused." Sure. After that, a taxi arrived quickly, and she went home. Still, she said something strange. Where have we met before? To be honest, I only knew her from the matchmaking photo. Looking at her picture again, I was thinking with my mind racing. I just don't recognize that face. No matter how much I looked at her face, I couldn't remember. Then, my eyes landed on her ears in the photo. She was wearing cute earrings. Oh, I remembered something. But that was over 20 years ago. Could she be the girl from back then? As unlikely as it seemed, I decided to accept the matchmaking and verify it for myself. On the day of the date, when she arrived at the appointed upscale restaurant, I caught my breath at the sight of her. She was fitting for a CEO's daughter, with her fair skin and a gentle appearance. I can't believe you agreed to come. She blushed slightly and smiled happily. There's something I wanted to check with you. You're Kay, right? You finally remembered. Her face lit up with a smile. She was indeed Kay, my childhood friend. It's hard to believe. We haven't seen each other in over 20 years, right? Yes. Back in the day, she used to live near my family home. Her parents were often busy with work, and the neighborhood ladies and my mom looked after her. She ate at my house several times. Looking through photos my dad took, I saw you in one from when we went golfing, and I recognized you right away, but my dad didn't notice at all. When I told him that man was definitely Charles, he seemed to remember the past. I had been deceived by someone I was dating with the intention of marriage, and I had become distrustful of men for a while. But seeing that photo made me want to see you again, and I half-jokingly said that maybe I could marry you. I see. So your dad took it seriously then. She gave a wry smile. It seems her father, desperate for a good match for her and not finding any, seriously set up the matchmaking with me. But I really am thinking about marriage. Looking at her smiling face, I felt gloomy. I have plans to quit my job to take care of my mother at our family home. I don't even have another job lined up. I'll be without an income. If I were a father, I wouldn't allow my daughter to marry a man in such a situation. I will take good care of your mother, so can't we invite her here to stay with us? What? To have you take care of my mother right after getting married? I owe her since I was little. She took care of me. I would like to return the favor, she said, bowing her head. Please, let's continue our relationship. I've been troubled for so long, not meeting the right person. If I miss this connection with you, I feel like I'll never meet someone good for the rest of my life. Kayla, looking at her bowed head, I was speechless. The thought of her being chased by the duty of caring for my mother right after marriage pained my heart. But I can't let you go through such hardships. I'll be fine. Let's invite your mother here and live together, the three of us. Are you serious? I was overwhelmed by her statement. I'm not young anymore. I'm ready for that level of commitment. Her determination seemed firm. But what would Mr. Johnson think? A daughter going off to marriage, only to spend her days immersed in caregiving at her new home. Knowing this before the marriage, could a parent happily send off their daughter? Seeing my troubled face, she said, "Is caregiving really such an unpleasant thing?" Her question caught me off guard. My father will one day need care too, and someday I will as well. I think it's just part of life. Kayla's words struck me like a blow to the back of my head. That's true, but caring for someone else's parent is harder than you might imagine. I was cared for by your mother. I ate the food she cooked for me, even though I was someone else's child. It's the same thing. Her honest words swayed my heart. It's a thank you. Think of it as thanks for your mother. And do you remember this? Saying that, she touched the sparkling earrings by her ears. They were a pair with two overlapping heart motifs, which my father once said he had given to my mother as a present, and she had always worn them as her favorite. When I would gaze at them because they were so sparkly and pretty, your mother gave them to me. Wear them when you're older, she said. I only have a son, so I can pass them on, she told me while laughing. I remember that moment well. The reason I realized that she was Kayla, my childhood friend, was because I saw those earrings, which my mother had given her. I understand, let's consider it, taking my mother's opinion into account as well. Really, thank you so much, and that's how Kayla and I began dating. Both the CEO and my mother said the same thing, that they could finally relax knowing their child found a good person. It reminded me that all parents feel the same about their children. When I told my mother about living together with Kayla, she hesitated at first, saying she didn't want to interfere with the young couple and even suggested moving into a nursing home. But Kayla insisted that we should live together, and eventually, my mother agreed. And so, our life together as three began. Kayla has been taking great care of everything, from household chores to accompanying my mother to the hospital. I can only feel gratitude towards her. My mother seems so happy to have a companion. She smiles much more now than when she was living alone. Hey, what kind of design do you think would be good for a wedding ring? Well, maybe we should ask my mother too. Yes, let's talk about it during dinner. The conversation for tonight's dinner was set to be about the wedding rings. Next month, we're having our wedding. I can already imagine Kayla's father crying at the ceremony. I smiled to myself at that thought.